Hey guys, so TCK, third culture kid, what is it? Well, if you know what it is, probably means you are one. If you don't, no worries. That's what I'm here for. So sociologist David C. Pollock has given a definition, which I'm going to give you. That's what I do. A third culture kid, or TCK, is a person who has spent a significant part of his or her developmental years outside the parent's culture. The TCK frequently builds relationships to all of the cultures while not having full ownership in any. So yeah, that's what TCK is pretty much. Someone who grows up with a culture that is not inherently theirs. It's more that they've been surrounded by so many cultures, they don't really have a single identifying culture anymore. One thing I've come across with other TCKs as well is this one question we all hate. You know, when you meet someone new, just innocently, they ask, hey, where are you from? Well, for them it's innocent. For us it's the most evil question because it's too general and broad of a question. For us it could mean a plethora of things. It could mean nationality, country of birth, where I live, where I just moved from, or where I consider home. For me, the answer is a different country for every single one of them. What I prefer them to ask is something like, so where's home for you? Where do you live? Or if it's really obvious I am foreign, as it was in India, where did you move from? I can answer these. I know the answer. This is amazing. Why can't we ask these? We should start a trend. Ask these questions. There's a lot more TCKs today than there were 10 years ago because it's a lot more common for kids to move around, especially with jobs opening up overseas, and a lot of parents now moving overseas for job opportunities and dragging the whole family along, and a lot of children today no longer grow up in a country that is the same as their parents, so the culture is different. There's different experiences going on. For me, the reason why I hate the question where you're from is for many reasons. One of them is mainly because when I ask them to clarify the question exactly what they mean from the options I've listed before, is that they get confused, which causes me to be confused because it might just be a bit more specific for me. So then they ask me, well, what's your nationality? I'm Austrian. So that's where you're from. Doesn't work that way for me. I only lived in Austria for 10 months when I was 4 years old. That's not really where I'm from. I've moved around so much I don't identify one country as my home anymore. It's impossible. Austria itself, I am considered foreign in the sense that yes, my passport says Austria, my mom is Austrian, but I'm not Austrian because I wasn't born in Austria, nor do I sound Austrian. When I go there I meet new people in Austria, they're like, oh, so where are you from? I'm like, well, I'm Austrian. You don't sound Austrian. I'm aware of that, like, because my German is not the Austrian accent. It's a very neutral German. There's no specific accent associated with it. So I'm very much a foreigner and a tourist in Austria as everyone else. Less so because I have family there, but still I can get lost. I just know how to speak my way out of it. Another reason why I hate the question where you're from is because I've only recently moved to where I'm currently living in Australia a few years ago. And before that I was living in Singapore for quite a few years. So when I moved here and people asked where you're from, I'd respond Singapore. Because I just moved here from Singapore, it made sense to me. But then they respond, well, you don't look Asian. I know. Caucasian as hell. The issue became that I got told I can't be from Singapore so many times that I started having a small identity crisis because I'm like, well, I associate myself with Singapore. I've got my best friend there. My family still lives in Singapore. It's home for me at this point because my family's still there. Because I don't look Singaporean. We see white people and Asian people and Latinos and Africans everywhere. Just because you don't look the stereotype doesn't mean you can't be from that place. Especially as a TCK, home for you is very portable in the sense that it changes. It just depends on that moment, that year, that day. I've got home in multiple countries. That's normal for me. It might not be normal for other people, but for me it's like home is very portable. Just because my nationality says one thing doesn't mean that is what I identify as. Yes, I am European. But that's the most narrowed down I'm ever gonna get, because I refuse to be more narrowed down, because for me it doesn't make sense. It's a few countries in Europe I associate myself with. One of my favourite parts about being a TCK is the travelling. You get to explore new cultures more in depth than you would as a tourist, because when you're a tourist you just like fly there, see the nicest parts about it, woo, fly back. You don't really get to experience the culture, the everyday life, the people. The first thing you get down is the slang, especially if it's an English-speaking country. Because in Singapore, you've got Singlish and grammatically broken English. I just absorbed it all. The culture as well, the food. Okay, the food took me a while. That was my first time actually living alone in Asia. And the street food, lovely. Just took me a few months to get used to it. I'm not used to seeing a whole chicken being hung up on a hook in view and then being chopped in front of me. It's a cooked chicken. Thank God for that. But still, it's a bit graphic. I've never experienced my food that firsthand before, so it took me a while to get used to the food. Once you do, it's amazing, and you really get to experience the culture through the food and the people, and get the cheaper food too, which is most times also the better tasting one. Which is, as a tourist, you tend to go to the nicer restaurants because you're on vacation, which is understandable. And grocery shopping is the best part because you get to see what the economy is like in that country, get to see the type of food they enjoy, you get to see so many things, and you get to try different stuff you've probably never heard of. Another thing I've noticed I do, if I see my friends from a certain country, I'll adopt the slang again, which is hysterical to see when I've got friends from one place and friends from another, and I'm changing back and forth between my two accents, and they're like, what's going on? It's amusing. So that's my TCK info. Hope you learned something from it, and how to approach a TCK, or maybe even just change the way you're from question, be a bit more specific no matter what would help us out. Thank you. If you are a TCK, write me a comment down below. What's your favourite and least favourite part about being a TCK? Is it like me, the where you from question? I hate that so much. People, please change. Or do you love the culture like I do? And getting to travel and see new places, it's best. Plus the cheap airfare from when you live there, you're going around, yeah, I know. Me too. See ya.